November 8th, 2025, Eastern Ukraine, a city of 60,000 reduced to 1,200 souls. For 548 days, Russia has pushed toward Pokrovsk. They send 300 men forward every single day, knowing 200 will die and 100 will reach the city. That's the math. That's the doctrine. That's how you win a war of attrition when you don't care about the cost. Imagine you're a Ukrainian drone operator. You fire until your battery dies, reload, and fire again. The Russians keep coming in small groups of 3. 2 get vaporized by your FPV drone, but 1 survives. By nightfall, another 100 Russian soldiers are inside the city limits. This is the story of the longest battle of the Ukraine war, a siege that's consumed tens of thousands of lives, crippled a $2 billion steel industry, and turned a logistics hub into rubble. This is Pokrovsk, the Stalingrad of 2025. Before the war, Pokrovsk was nobody's idea of strategic real estate. Just 60,000 people, coal mines, steel plants, and a railway junction connecting Donetsk to Dnipro. Then February 22, 2022 happened, and suddenly geography mattered. Pokrovsk sits at the intersection of 3 major supply highways feeding Ukrainian defensive positions at Chasiv Yar, Kostiantynivka, and Kramatorsk. Lose Pokrovsk, and the entire eastern logistics network collapses. Ukrainian military expert Mikhailo Zhirokov put it bluntly, the entire front line will crumble. Russia knew it. Ukraine knew it. So did the 60,000 civilians caught in between. After capturing Avdiivka in February 2024, Russia spent 5 months building a salient northwest of the city, grinding forward village by village and losing thousands to gain kilometers. Then came July 18, 2024, when Russian forces stormed Pokrovsk, 20 kilometers to the east. They took it in 2 days. That was the moment everyone knew. This was the main event. By August 15th, Russian forces were 10 kilometers out and evacuation orders went out across the city. The train station became a scene straight out of World War II. Entire families with pets and suitcases, boarding overcrowded carriages heading west. 38,000 people remained in August, 26,000 by September, 13,000 by October, 7,000 by January 2025, and 1,500 by July. Today, 1,200 civilians surviving without electricity, running water or gas for heating, just the sound of artillery and the hope that maybe the next shell doesn't have your address on it. And underneath it all, buried hundreds of meters beneath the burning city, sits the reason this matters beyond the maps. You're standing at the entrance to the Pokrovsky coal mine. Behind you, the city burns. Below you lies 3.6 million tons of coking coal annually, 90% of Ukraine's entire supply. No coking coal means no coke. No coke means no steel. No steel means no tanks, no bridges, no wartime economy. Steel exports brought in $2 billion in the first 8 months of 2024, with Ukrainian production projected at 7.5 million metric tons. Lose Pokrovsk? That drops to 2 to 3 million, a 50% collapse with budget revenues down $360 million annually. The mine employed thousands of people from families who'd worked those shafts for generations. One miner, Alina Vachnova, told Swiss media, "Without the mines, my hometown would not exist. Her father was a miner, her grandfather was a miner, and she stayed through the artillery strikes because financially, she had no choice." By December 12, 2024, Russian forces were within 3 kilometers and Metinvest made the call to suspend operations. The last shift climbed out of those shafts knowing they might never go back down. January 14, 2025. The mine went silent. CEO Yuri Ryzhenkov: "We cannot risk the lives of thousands of employees and their families." The Russians kept pushing forward. You're in a Ukrainian position on Pokrovsk's eastern edge at dawn, and you hear them before you see them. 3 men moving fast through the rubble. You launch your FPV drone. First one takes a direct hit and disintegrates. Second one catches shrapnel and goes down screaming. Third one, he's in the building before you can reload. That's 300 times a day across the entire sector. Ukrainian commander Oleksandr Syrsky reported his forces were neutralizing 300 Russian soldiers daily in the Pokrovsk direction. British analyst Michael Clark estimated 1,000 Russian casualties per day across the entire sector in September 2024. David Axe put the cumulative toll at potentially tens of thousands just in the advance from Avdiivka to Pokrovsk. Small infantry assault groups of 3 men per team. 2 die, 1 makes it through. By day's end, 100 Russian soldiers are inside the city. By week's end, 700. By month's end, you've got a battalion operating behind your lines. Your drone operators describe the pace as overwhelming. "The intensity is so great that operators simply cannot keep up," one soldier told CNN. "They move in groups of 3, counting on 2 being destroyed but 1 reaching the city." Zelensky reported Russia massed 170,000 troops specifically for this offensive. Meanwhile, Ukraine's forces are running on fumes. The 47th Mechanized Brigade lost half its M1 Abrams tanks by late August 2024. One brigade defending Pokrovsk had completely ran out of infantry by July 2025. Russia adapted with FP-5 drones featuring extended ranges, thermobaric warheads, and sleeper drones that loiter near supply routes waiting for targets. By August 2025, Russian soldiers were even disguising themselves as civilians to infiltrate positions. They destroyed 2 of 3 bridges across the Vovcha River, your main supply arteries, forcing logistics teams to reroute through roads under constant drone surveillance. December 31, 2024 brought the final failure of the electrical grid. Lights out permanently with no heat and no water pumps. January 2, 2025. Russian shelling destroyed the city's welcome sign, and a Ukrainian soldier pulled the letter P from the rubble. For the museum, he said. November 6th, the New York Times reported that Pokrovsk has been turned largely into rubble. November 8th, Zelensky confirmed 314 Russian soldiers were embedded in the city fighting block by block. You're almost surrounded, but you're used to it. This isn't the first time we've seen this pattern. Bakhmut, 2023. Months of urban combat before Ukraine withdrew and Russia claimed the ruins. Both sides claimed victory. Avdiivka, 2024. Same story, with Ukraine fighting until encirclement was nearly complete before pulling back. Critics said they waited too long. Now, Pokrovsk faces the same debate. When do you cut your losses? Some analysts argue Ukraine's repeating the mistake by defending doomed positions for symbolic reasons when retreat would save lives for future battles. Others argue the opposite, that every day Pokrovsk holds, Russia burns through irreplaceable manpower while Ukrainian forces fortify Kostiantynivka, Kramatorsk, and Sloviansk as the next defensive line. Pokrovsk would be the largest city Russia's captured since Bakhmut, a city of 60,000 pre-war population, a steel hub, and a logistics node. Losing it isn't just tactical, it's psychological, but symbols cut both ways. Russia's paid in blood with tens of thousands of casualties to advance a few dozen kilometers. ISW analyst George Barros noted, Russia's manpower is actually quite limited. They're struggling to offset that 30,000 casualties per month figure. They've sustained it for 2.5 years, but it's not working anymore. Maybe he's right and Russia's closer to breaking than anyone realizes, or maybe they've got another year of grinding advance left in them. Right now, both sides are still standing, barely. You're sitting in a bunker in western Pokrovsk with 1,200 civilians left in a city without power or water, almost completely encircled. The question isn't if anymore, it's when and at what cost. Withdraw now? You save soldiers for the next defensive line and avoid another bloodbath while escaping through a collapsing pocket. You regroup at Kostiantynivka and Kramatorsk with better fortifications. But you hand Russia a propaganda victory, the largest city captured since Bakhmut, giving them proof in state media that Ukraine's crumbling. Hold the line? You keep bleeding Russia at 300 casualties a day, 90,000 over the next year if the rate holds. You deny them momentum and show the West that Ukraine's still fighting, still worthy of continued support. But you risk encirclement, another desperate retreat under fire, and another wave of funerals for soldiers who died defending ruins that couldn't be held. There's no clean answer in wars of attrition. No brilliant maneuver suddenly makes the math work. You either have more men, more ammunition, and more will than the other guy, or you don't. Pokrovsk is the math made visible. 548 days of grinding, relentless combat. Not Omaha Beach, not Desert Storm, just 2 armies locked in a death grip, each hoping the other breaks first. The city's already lost in every way that matters. The people are gone, the coal mines shut down, the steel industry's crippled, and the supply routes are cut. What's left is a symbol. And in a war stalled across a 1,000-kilometer front, symbols matter to politicians deciding aid packages, to soldiers deciding whether to keep fighting, and to populations deciding whether to support a war that's lasted nearly 4 years. Pokrovsk will fall, probably within weeks or maybe days. And then both sides will move on to the next city, the next defensive line, the next 500 days of grinding attrition. Because that's modern warfare in 2025. Not shock and awe or lightning strikes, but slow industrial-scale destruction where victory goes to whoever can sustain the losses longest. Welcome to the new normal. This is the reality most people don't see. Not dramatic drone strikes or heroic last stands, but math, logistics, and attrition. Men dying in groups of 3 so one can reach a city that's already in ruins. Pokrovsk shows what happens when 2 near-peer militaries commit to total war without the ability to achieve decisive victories. You get 548 days of this. If you want more breakdowns without the propaganda, just facts and implications, subscribe and share this with someone who thinks wars are won quickly. I'm Steel Command. Stay vigilant. Stay informed.